All right, so after some more discussions, more research, I worked out how to do this sticker business. So the shipping was insane, like $25 to ship to America is just insane for something that weighs, I don't even know how much this weighs. It weighs like, I don't even know, like it's a letter, right? So I went to the post office again and I was like, listen, man, like, what if I wanted to send a whole stack of letters? Surely a letter doesn't cost 25 freaking dollars to get to America. He's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't cost that much. However, you don't have this, and this. So I think one of the biggest things about, doing this e-commerce stuff online and having everything automated is that I think the system assumes that it's a parcel. And if you don't have a parcel, then a whole host of things happen. You don't have tracking, you don't have a whole bunch of stuff. Now, I don't think tracking is all that crucial for something that is, a letter, something like this. So without tracking and without fancy stuff, you can get it at a pretty reasonable cost. But it's not going to go through the system that I have currently, which is that through Shopify, through all that stuff, all these services that are linked. So it's a manual process. So if someone comes in and says, I want to get a sticker and I live in London, I can get it to you for $5. $5 delivery versus 25. So the guy at the post office was like, you can manually write all this stuff on paper, or you can put a copy from the website that I use onto a Word document and print them out and do it that way. I thought that was a pretty good workaround. So I'm going to do that. So the shipping is not crazy anymore. In Australia, it costs $3 to ship a letter around the place. That's including the envelope, including the postage and all that stuff, delivery. Internationally, it's $5 Australian, which works out to be, I don't know, $3 American USD. I said to the guy, how long is it going to be? Does it impact the shipping? He's like, the most it will ever be is something like basically 3 to 6 weeks is what it's going to be. Whereas compared to, the parcels that I use for this stuff, which is the tracking and all the rest of it, much more expensive, although the weight is also higher. So it all kind of makes sense to have shipping higher for something that is not paper thin. So big stuff, I get it. Shipping it needs to be up, but for something like this, it shouldn't. So $5 and $3 for all shipping. And I'm happy to finally have worked it out. For some reason, the system that we use for this stuff doesn't work. So you can't print labels and you can't put a label on a letter. You need to manually do it. It's a completely different system. So I've worked it out. Thought I'd mention that to you. So if you guys want a sticker, it costs now $3 for shipping Australian and $5 all around the world, essentially. And that's including all costs. So there you go. I'm very happy with that. All right, let's get to training. I'm off a night shift today. I'm functioning on like 3.5. I don't even think it's 4 hours of sleep. These days are usually terrible. But sometimes I get surprised with how strong I am. But because I'm still dealing with this freaking soreness in the adductors from Saturday, I just feel terrible. Like there's no strength in me. There's no energy in me. I'm just lethargy, I think is the best word for it. I got up, I had to run around, do some errands around the place. Got home and ate. I ate an hour ago. And then, straight away, the fatigue settles in. It's just amazing. I was talking to work. I work with somebody, and I was basically saying to them how much I respect fasting. It's such a interesting thing to me. Honestly, I said to them, we were talking about it last night, but in triage we were just chilling. There was a bit of a lull in work, and I basically said, when I end this squat every day, and one day it will end, I don't know what time, I'll feel it in my soul, I guess, in my gut. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go fast for 7 days. I've wanted to do this for such a long time. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's suitable to do it while you're squatting every day. But I really want to do a 7-day water fast with no food at all, nothing, just water. I've wanted to do this for a number of years, but I never really could do it because of the squatting every day and stuff. I don't think it's the greatest idea to, exert yourself when you're fasting like this. I've done like 2.5 days in the past. I think it was over 2 days, but I've never gone beyond that. There's been a few people around me who have done a 7-day water fast. And they say, the first 3 days is tough. And then after that, you just kind of settle in as a normal thing. It doesn't faze you anymore. You just kind of get used to it. And I really, really believe out of all the things you can do in life, out of all the things you can, do for health, for cleansing, for just general health, I think fasting is the best. It's not sexy. A lot of people don't talk about it. There's been some chatter around it in the last few years, I suppose, that I've been exposed to. But it's something that you can't sell. You can't really monetize it. And so a lot of people don't really talk about it, because how do you sell fasting? There's nothing to sell. And in the world that we live in, with capitalism and whatever, it's all about making a buck, not trying to help somebody. But I truly believe fasting is something that all of us should be, concern ourselves with. There's basically every religion on earth that I'm aware of has some sort of fasting in it. And really, like, now I'm kind of looking forward to the post-squat everyday era. I reckon that's going to be something that I'm going to do a lot of. Obviously, you have to eat food. That's a no-brainer. But the amount of waste that we carry, in our bodies, the amount of energy that, digestion consumes, and how much energy it involves just to process food, it's crazy. And I think, I don't know, man, I think more than 90% of all disease that we see in our healthcare systems is related to some sort of metabolic condition. They're all metabolic diseases that somehow stem from just consuming too much bloody food, and food that is not good. There's a lot of, I've heard once that we are the most overfed, undernourished generation of all time. Just think about that, how much that really, how much that means to say these two extremes in one sentence. Overfed, yet we're undernourished. I thought that was brilliant the first time I heard it, and I definitely spent some time thinking about it. But on every level, every system, every organ benefits from a fast. I remember reading the book about Gandhi, this is probably more than 5 years ago, the autobiography of Gandhi, and I was shocked to see how much fasting he has done. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was a point in time where he fasted for a month. It's been a little while since I last read that autobiography, but I think he did a month fast. And he did it for multiple different reasons. It wasn't just religious, it was also political. He was trying to get people to, listen to him. There was a lot of reverence around him and his name and his actions. And so, he was kind of fasting to kind of show people that he was really serious about some of the things that he was talking about, uniting India and all that stuff. But yeah, so this was kind of the craziest runs of fasting that I've ever seen from an individual. It was Gandhi. And obviously, if you Google fasting, you will see that there was some guy that fasted more than a year straight, something like 380 days. He was an American, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he's from America. He ended up losing like half of his body weight. This was a very, very large human being. I think he was like over 150 kilos. Oh no, over 200 something kilos. This is a very, very large individual, and ended up losing 100 kilos essentially. He was having regular blood tests. He was having regular, electrolytes, all the rest of it. But he didn't consume any calories. So, and you can see, the impact that can have. And if you think about somebody being that heavy versus somebody fasting, and the impact he made in his life, it's insane. So whenever people tell me, I have trouble losing weight. No, you don't have trouble losing weight, man. Like, losing weight is a very simple thing. You have trouble not eating. That is your trouble. You can't stop eating. You're like Pac-Man. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, to anybody or anyone. I know there are disease processes out there that, you need to consume calories. You can't just go cold turkey with calories. But there's a large portion of the population, the vast majority, who just simply eat too much. And you just putting down that fork and that spoon will be the best thing you've ever done in your life. And so, people talk about, I need to lose weight, let me eat this. How about you don't eat anything? Why do you have to eat this or that, or combination of protein, carbs and fats and whatever? Just don't eat. Stop eating. Stop eating and you will lose weight. It is a biological fact that if you stop eating, you will lose weight. Obviously, religion is losing its grip on the world as we advance through the ages. But religion once upon a time meant something to the vast majority of people on the planet. And they would abide by some of these religious traditional things in terms of fasting for Christmas, Easter, all that stuff, and Ramadan for Islam. And this fasting is not just this, random act. There was a reason why this was done for many, many years, many generations before ours. But now we don't do anything. It's all just about consume. You have to eat 3 meals a day. The question is, what are you going to eat? How about you don't eat anything? Like, why are we so strapped to this idea that you have to eat 3 times a meal, 5 times a day? Anyway, that's kind of where I go with all of this stuff. But yeah, eventually, once the Squat Everyday thing ends, I reckon I'm gonna do a fat freaking fast where I don't eat anything for a week. And I'm really excited about that because there's a lot of stuff that goes on about, once you stop consuming food, you basically, I've heard people say that you're closer to God. You can meditate so much more effectively when there's no noise. There's a lot of noise in digestion. There's a lot of noise with all these irritations of things that we consume, the toxins. And so you essentially become closer to your soul, closer to God, closer to your spirit when you stop eating. And there's been a lot of people who have spoken about that. So, obviously that is intriguing to me. I want to do that for that reason as well. But also, the T cells come out, insulin drops, glucagon gets into the bloodstream. You go into a cancer killing spree. Your body just cleanses everything, starts to eat itself. Basically eats the bad cells in the body, which is essentially a cleanse. So, your body starts to digest bad cells. Whereas if you're always in the surplus, your body will never go into that cleansing because there's no need. There's just a surplus of calories and energy in abundance. And so the body never wants to go into that. But anyway, talking about fasting a lot now. You can tell that I respect it and I really want to do it eventually. But I don't even know why I started talking about that, but that popped into my mind. Anyway, I've sorted out the shipping. It's now reasonable. The stickers are there if you want to grab them and support me. That's really cool. If not, I'll catch you guys in the next video, I suppose. Appreciate you and peace out.